That's better eye contact than when I look at you.
Yep. Hello, everyone. Erin King here, and welcome to the very first episode of 2021, the Highlights Podcast. We're kicking it off with one of my favorite people on the planet, one of my dearest friends, one of the most brilliant, kind, generous, high energy, sassy, fabulous, fashionable Australians you'll ever meet. The one, the only, Neen James. Neen.
Can I just carry you everywhere with me? So can you just be my introduction every time I need, like, now a virtual presentation or in front of a ballroom? I think you just need to be my introducer. Like, I'm carrying you in my pocket with me. That's what's happening.
Well, the proper introduction for Neen James is that she is a world-renowned author, speaker, business coach. She is a sales and marketing guru. She has worked with some of the world's biggest brands, the Fortune 100s, Comcast, all kinds of companies. And she's also written 9 books, including Folding Time and my personal favorite, today's topic, Attention Pays. Attention Pays is a book all about driving profitability, productivity, and accountability, which are 3 things that, particularly in these days, we need more than ever. If I were to sum up James and what she brings to the world professionally, I would say in a tweet that Neen makes systems sexy. And I'll never forget when I first met you back at the National Speakers Association. I was your barnacle babe, following you around. Sorry, we'll cut that part out.
No, that's
Following you around because I didn't know anyone. And I remember watching you work this room, 3,000 of the world's biggest personalities. And you, in everyone's mind, you were literally, genuinely everyone's best friend. And from there, I remember watching you over the next couple of months as I saw how you nurtured and maintained this genuinely massive network of incredible individuals. And I'll never forget asking you, Neen, how do you do this? How do you keep so many people feeling like they are top of mind for you all the time? And you looked at me and you said, oh, darling, it's simple. It's called systemized thoughtfulness. And that was the most incredible moment. So for those of you listening and you wonder, maybe you have a friend like Neen, like I do, and your friend like Neen is constantly, they're the ones that they do the thank you cards and they remember the birthdays and they send the best gifts like the Tiffany silver baby spoon for our friend Mike and Nino and Phil Fox's baby. And you wonder, how do they do this personally and professionally? Well, Neen is here today to tell us exactly how she is so systematically thoughtful. So Neen, spill. Where did you develop this incredibly important system?
You know, I think what happens is everyone watching this has the same amount of time that I do, right? Mm-hmm. We all get 1,440 minutes in a day. And so I realized you can't manage time, but you can manage your attention. So who matters to you and what matters to you? And at the end of the day, everybody wants to be seen and heard, right? Yeah, I know that to be true. So then I was thinking to myself, well, how do I do that with all the people that I love and I care for? How on earth do you show all those people that you love them, you care for them? And so I started creating little systems, and I realized, like, every time someone would serve me in a restaurant, I would always ask their name. You and I joke about this all the time. As soon as I see someone's name tag, I'll ask them, tell me about you, blah, blah, blah. And I'll use their name through the entire process. That's a system. Doesn't matter if it's a barista, a server, the valet, whoever it is, I make a point of using someone's name because Dale Carnegie once wrote in this book, which I think should be compulsory reading for everyone. He wrote a book called How to Win Friends and Influence People. And he said, a person's name is the sweetest sound, right? And using someone's name is a no-cost attention-grabbing strategy. So creating mini systems. And then I thought, oh gosh, I have quite a lot of systems. For example, I write a love note every day, no matter what. It's on my checklist, my daily tracker. I write a love note to someone, like an old-fashioned, handwritten, post in the mail, snail mail kind of thing. And that is because everyone's mail these days is like white envelopes with bills in them, right? But I figure if I made a system that every single day before I went to sleep, I wrote a love note to someone, and then I pop it in my little letterbox on the way to my walk in the morning, it's done. Done. So I have lots and lots of systems in place, but then I realized we can actually If we really want to show people who matters in our life, we can create these systems. We can all do it. And I use it for my clients. I have a system for them. I use it for my girlfriends. I have a system for that. Simple things like, for example, remember when we used to fly? Before the plane would take off, I would shoot a short little video to someone and I would say, hey, I'm thinking about you. And I would text it because, there's that time before they like make you turn your phone off. I don't even know why they do that, but there's all systems. And so the key to systemized thoughtfulness is make time in time. Associate it with something you're already doing. Every day, write a love note. Or when you do this, you do that. And that's the kind of thing, systemized thoughtfulness.
Mm. Well, you talk about it in your book and you break it down into three main areas. So our personal lives, our professional lives, and then globally, how we can show up to the world in a way that is more systematically thoughtful. And you talk a lot in your book about the over trilogy, being overstressed, overtired, and overwhelmed. And right now, at the time of recording, there is some crazy SHIT going on in our country here in the States. And there has just never been a time where what you're talking about has been needed, I think, more than ever in the first and third categories, the personal and the global categories.
Right.
Right now, it's January 2021, we are still riding the Corona coaster. There are crazy things happening politically. And so I think, I don't know about you, but my tendency sometimes, because we are physically in a little bit more of an isolated situation, is to draw inward, is to kind of close up because maybe we're afraid that we're not bringing our most positive, energetic self. So we hide. So we kind of try to, wait till things maybe feel better or we feel better. But what I love about your system is that sometimes the best way for us to break out of depressing times or go towards the light is to like take the focus off of all of our shit and go outwards, right? So tell us more about that.
It's not about you. That's the thing. Like, for anyone who's watching at the time of recording, have I had challenging days? Yeah. Do I post about them on social media? No, because the world doesn't need that, right? And so one thing that I want people to consider is it's not actually about you. It's about standing in service of someone else. And so for me, writing a love note every day, it's not about me writing a love note. It's about creating a moment for that person when they open the love note and being reminded that I see them, they're important to me. And we all have the power to do this. So we need to stop being selfish and thinking about ourselves and being very thoughtful and think about someone else. And that's the simple things that we can do on a daily basis. And frankly, yes, I still do this. I still write a love note, even if I don't feel fabulous. There are days when you want to crawl under the covers and binge watch,
Bridgerton.
Yeah, but so there are days when you want to do those things, but at the end of the day, if you start creating systems, systems create freedom, right? So the more systems you have, the more freedom you have. Everyone has systems watching this. You put the cutlery in the same place in the drawer. If you're in our house, you do. When you take it out of the dishwasher, right? That's a system. So if you could create these mini systems, regardless of how you feel, you can change your brain, which can change your habits. And that's one of the things we talk about in the book. We have this power. I can't change your brain, but you can change the way that you are reacting to things. And so I have chosen kindness. I have chosen grace. I have chosen compassion, whether it's online or with other people, not because that's the way that I'm wired, because that's what serves the world, even on the days when I don't feel like it. And I get it. We don't all have those fabulous days, but I think we need, my friend often says to me, be kind and gentle with yourself. And when he first said that to me, I was like, whatever. But it's such wisdom. As I started to explore what he meant, that made a huge impact on me. So I think we all need that. We need to be kind and gentle on ourselves so we can be kind and gentle to the people that we meet in our day.
Neen, it's your message. It's more relevant in these days than it has ever been, personally, professionally, and globally. And what I love about your approach is, like you said, you really boil it back to the intentionality behind all of these behaviors. You're not just one of those self-help gurus who are like, do the journaling, breathe. Like, you're not just giving people random tactics. You're saying, let's boil it down to the core of our why and just being really intentional. And that is so hard right now because we are spending so much more time behind screens. We're doom scrolling. We are forced to use social as our primary form of networking and communication and nurturing. And social media, obviously, I've made my whole career working out of it. I think it's great. You and I both talked about the social dilemma and having this weird intersection that I think a lot of our listeners are struggling with, because social media is our primary lifeline to our people in these times. And we know it's associated with all kinds of negative attributes emotionally and psychologically. And so we're all trying to walk this line. I think what's so important about your book now, if you haven't read Attention Pays, I highly encourage you to pick it up, is that it forces you to look at the time you have, whether you are majorly quarantini and masky or you are living your best quarantine life and you're traveling internationally. Do you? I don't care where you are on the spectrum, but wherever you are, figuring out ways to look at how we're planning our special time to break out of that mode of waiting. And one of the things you talk about is this idea of day blocking and time blocking. And I've seen your lists. I've seen your charts. It is no joke. And it's funny because as someone like you know me very well, and you know that planning too much kind of makes me anxious. And I see your charts. I'm like, oh my God, am I a mess? But the thing is, what you're saying is like, if you do the planning and the work and the untangling of the necklace up front, ultimately you find that joy on the back end. And so tell us about, I mean, you have so many systems, but the one I like the best is your day blocking, where you say you have a day that you focus. So tell us about the day blocking.
Okay, so one of the things that people need to realize is it's intention that makes attention valuable, right? So what Aaron's talking about is, I believe, in intentional attention. It's about choosing consciously and acting deliberately, because that's how you truly transform. That's how you make a big impact in the world, is those choices you make and the actions you take, right? And so one thing that I want people to think about is, I said at the beginning of our time together, you and I get the same amount of time. Doesn't matter, 1,440 minutes. So if you can't manage time, but you can manage your attention, you want to put systems in place, because systems create freedom, as I've already told you. And an easy system is associate your days with certain activities and even break it down further. In most neighborhoods, the trash gets picked up on a certain day every week, right? And so you have trained your household to ensure that the recycling's on the curb, or whatever it is that you're doing happens on that day. So systemize your life like you do your house. So I have a daily tracker. I'm happy to make this available for people. If you want, we can put that in the show notes. But the daily tracker, what I discovered was, I have tried every app, planner, system, analog, digital, you name it, I've tried it. I've literally tried all the systems, and I realized my brain, like many people watching, craves completion. Like the act of writing something down and then crossing it off. I wonder who would be willing to admit on this call. Like, would you admit to yourself that some of you listening, you actually write things down just so you can cross them off? And we do that because our brain is craving some sense of accomplishment in the day, like something we did today mattered, especially people working from home more than they ever have before. So the daily planner, what I discovered is, if I could write down 3 not negotiable things for today. So in my day blocking, I prioritize what are the top 3 things I must do today. So before my head hits the pillow tonight, what must I do? But then I take a step further. So it's not just professional goals, Erin, it's personal. And it actually says, did I read something? Did I call someone? Did I send a love note? Did I post on social? And did I promote someone? Because for me, it's also about making sure that I have systems in place to promote others. Social media is a genius opportunity to promote others. You do this with your beautiful newsletter. Everyone needs to subscribe to this. Michael Barber, who's watching along, is a genius at this. He's always showcasing other people through Twitter and Facebook. And so there are different ways you can also use systems to not just help bring attention to the work you do, but you can highlight the work of others as well. And this is all it's literally like a little checklist. Like I said, happy to share the template. Maybe you could try it out. So many of my clients around the world love it, and they use it every day. And it's an old-fashioned piece of paper.
It's so genius, Neen. And I think what I love the most about this concept of figuring out how you're going to block your day. So I love the idea that, for example, today's Thursday. So Thursday, because it takes a long time to look this mediocre with the hair and the makeup and the eyelashes and the things.
Not look mediocre.
Okay, this takes
that stuff is not true.
This takes about an hour, right? So once you do this, for me, the only day blocking I've mastered is Thursdays. I do all of my video. It's the podcast, it's your live, it's your content, right? So Yeah, so it's a small system. And then what I've tried to do from reading your book is I take your advice about the Friday afternoon being the time where you reach out to everyone from the week that you were able to serve or that contributed, and you just give them kind of a go girl and a little high five. It's so brilliant because Friday afternoon, you don't want to not be working because it's still the week, but you're not ready to like change the world with like writing a book, right? So you're thinking just high five people and you go into the weekend, good vibes. It's so good.
But you have that system in your hand. Like you can simply, this is an easy system. You record a little video and you go, oh my God, I hope you have a fabulous weekend. I hope your week was amazing. Text. Easy peasy. Now, my truest friends see not this. They get all kinds of post-workout ridiculousness, early morning stuff. But we have the systems at our disposal. We just have to use them differently, right? Yeah. So technology is not the enemy of our attention. We are. We have to put these systems in place, right? So think about, especially as people are working from home longer than maybe they anticipated, think about allocating, like on Mondays, you might do marketing. On Tuesdays, you might do some form of development or business development. On Wednesdays, you might do some check-ins with your team members or your leadership. On Thursday, you might produce content, whatever that looks like. And on Friday, you might wrap up the week and set yourself up for success for the next week. But allocating a day per week to certain activities, and you got to be flexible, obviously, but then break it down. What do you really want to achieve today? I love leveraging hair and makeup days. Believe me, I've even said to clients, like, that's a hair and makeup day. Okay, I can deliver this video to you. Or I will, because I'm on Zoom or Microsoft Team all day, every day, 10 to 12 hours a day for some of my clients. And some want to meet me revoltingly early in the morning. I'm like, I'll be in workout gear. So we have to have that understanding. Like, I love you, Mrs. Client from lovely media company, but that is not a time this can be together. So you got to have those agreements and systems in place.
It's so brilliant. And what I love about this entire book and your entire approach and what you preach and what you really walk your walk, by the way. I mean, you walk your talk. And what I love the most is that in these times where we feel like there is so much more of all the things, whether you are a mom who's homeschooling, whether you are someone trying to reinvent because your industry collapsed, not that we know anything about that. But no matter where you are, it feels like this constant plug in with the media and this constant connectivity of leaning on our screens to feel connected to the world because we're physically separate. It makes it feel very drowny. Like you feel more drownier than the average baseline. Yeah. And so what's so great about what you talk about is you focus all of your heart and mind and soul and firepower on the only thing that ultimately really moves the needle, which is relationships. Right. You talk about just nurturing. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking, I'm trying to launch the business, I'm trying to hit the sales goal, I'm trying to create the marketing strategy, I'm trying to fill in the thing that you're listening right now that is top of mind for you. If you can wind it back to what Neen is saying and say, how am I investing in these relationships? A lot of the other barriers or the objections or the whatever's in your way, they just kind of fade away when you have those solid relationships, right?
Oh, absolutely. I've had people reach out to me and they were like, I saw you speak 8 years ago in the basement of the Marriott in New York. And I'm like, oh, Lordy. Okay, wow, that's amazing. And I've been following you ever since, and you stay in touch with me. And now I'm in a place where I can hire a speaker and I want you to come in, right? But when I also want people to think about, regardless of where you are in your journey, whether you are in direct sales, whether you are in corporate, whether you're an entrepreneur, relationships will always, always matter, meaning when you invest in those people, not only do you help them feel seen and heard, they tell others. So I've had so many corporate leaders that have hired me and they just keep taking me with them to their next company because the relationship is something I've invested in. One thing people want to consider, I have an advocate system we talk about in the book where I have like a top 20 people that I am focused on. Every single month, I touch them every month. It's an appointment with myself. That's the system. It's a fancy old spreadsheet, really. That's all it is. But every month I do something to reach out, whether it's send them a TED talk, or if one of my friends, when your new book comes out, Erin, I'll be buying the book so that I can have you sign it so they can all get a copy of it. So I'll buy 20 copies and send it to all these people. or I'll buy them a subscription to something, or I'll send them a magazine article, or like every month I have a calendar appointment to reach out to my top 20. And everyone can do this, and you don't have to spend a lot of money on it. You can do it all digitally, but find ways to connect with people and systemize it so that you don't forget, because life will always get in the way. And then you're going to turn around and it's 9 months later and you're still working from home. So I need people to think about, how do you prioritize systemized thoughtfulness so it becomes part of your morning routine, and then it's done. Check the box and you feel better. Erin, to the point you made earlier, when you reach out and serve someone else and you light up their day and you brighten their day, you by default feel more fabulous. So if any of you are out there feeling sorry for yourself, you've had a really crappy day, go do something nice for someone else, and surprise, surprise, it's contagious, right? Because that energy is contagious. I get called the Energizer Bunny by all my clients, the meeting planners, and I think that our energy is contagious. So let's look to see, how can we bring positive energy into someone else's environment? And that's really focusing on who and what matters.
Neen, it's so true. Can I ask a specific question about the system? So you pick 20 individuals. So there's different buckets. So for me, I would say, okay, my speaker friends, my clients, and then maybe just friends and family that I really need to make some deposits into that relationship account. So do you actually have 20 people, and then you said basically you'll do one touch point a month, or were you saying you're going to do, so every month you touch someone at least once, and then every month you repeat. So once a month they hear from you no matter what.
Correct. And so the system is that at 8:30 on a Monday morning, it's always the first Monday of the month, there is an appointment with myself which says reach out to advocates. And that advocate list changes every year. So I review it in January. It's a 12-month list. And then I'm going to keep touching that, not physically touching. God, I miss hugging. But I'm going to touch them through a digital connection or a handwritten note. And so the system is the appointment in my calendar, which I honor with myself every month, the spreadsheet of the 20 names. Now, the 20 names could be so up to you. For me, they're advocates, meaning they can advocate for me and my business. Sometimes they're inside my industry. Sometimes they're outside my industry. Maybe they're relationships I'm trying to build. Maybe it's a meeting planner that I'm desperate to work with, or a brand that I'd love to work with. Like, we all have those clients we really want to work with, or those relationships we want to deepen. They make it on the list. And then every December, I refresh the list, and then I think, hey, do I want to continue with this person? Because often what happens too, you never know what might happen in the world. You don't know how your business might be required to pivot. You don't know if you might change your career. You don't know if you might change companies. But for me, there are certain people in my life that I stay connected with. Like Michael and I have a date, like same time every single week. And sometimes we're walking, sometimes it's a FaceTime date, sometimes it's on Zoom, but it's in my calendar. It's the priority for one of the days of my week. You can schedule dates with like the people you share your home with. Erin, how many dates have we done? Mike Ganino has hosted a lot of virtual wine tastings for us because that's important for us, right? So you make dates with people. We can all schedule this. It doesn't have to cost you anything except time.
Well, the way we spend our time is the way we spend our life. And the way that you explain what can seem so overwhelming and boil it down to a workable, scalable system it's really worth the read. So as Neen said earlier, if you are listening to this and you're at just maybe some Corona fatigue or some Zoom fatigue, or maybe you're just feeling really psyched for 2021, but your list of things is 97,000 million things, take a deep breath. Get attention pays, follow Neen James, and you will begin to see how her systems allow you to create that freedom. I mean, it's truthfully changed the way I run my business and my life. So I am a huge fan. The day I met you, I knew we were going to have an incredible connection. And to this day, you are just the biggest influence, one of the biggest influences in my life. So if you're not following Neen James, please follow her. She is a gem, a treat, and a dang genius, in my opinion. So, Neen, before we wrap, thank you so much, by the way. Tell us about what are you reading right now? Are you reading any good books, any nonfiction authors, or what are you into?
There's this time of year, at the time of recording, I often like to revisit books that I love, right? And so I just finished Atomic Habits by James Clear, and anything to do with habits or systems I am obsessed with. So I highly recommend Atomic Habits. But One that I think every person needs to read is this one, Everybody
Mm.
Knows. And so if you're looking for a fabulous guest, I think Anne Handley, she is, besides she's one of my girl crushes, like full disclosure, because she's wicked smart. And what Anne has done is she's also demonstrates systems, because every other Sunday she drops into my inbox with Total Anarchy, her newsletter.
Okay.
And I literally, I like get up early, I make my matcha, and I sit there waiting for Anne's newsletter. There is not a person on the planet that gives me that kind of reaction.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like there's so many great books that maybe we've been exposed to, but now it's a really good time to go back and reread them. And so I think everyone would benefit from this, because we're all writing emails, text messages, social media updates. So I definitely recommend that. Deep Work by Cal Newport is also a really great book. And so it will challenge your thinking, because I think in our businesses and in our corporate lives, often busyness gets rewarded, but busy is not necessarily productive. And so it challenges you to think about deep versus shallow work. So I've always got 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 7 books on my desk on the go right now. So I'm not a girl who starts a book and finishes it, unless it's like by the pool or on the boat for like the entire day. Yeah, I have a lot of books on my bookshelf right now.
It's so great. Well, great leaders are great readers, and that is certainly what you are. So thank you for sharing that. I'll link to all of those in the show notes. And Neen, you're just a joy and a treasure. I cannot wait to give you a hug in real life very soon. Thank you for sharing your brilliance with my highlighters today.
It was a privilege. Thank you for all you're doing in the world. I love your highlighting so many phenomenal authors, but you're exposing us to these different ways of thinking, which I love as well. It's a privilege.
Thanks, Neen. Take care.